So welcome back to the second session of community. So let's just start right away with Yeonwoo to talk about the gamer activism in South Korea, focusing on the case of airship protest organized by Genshin Impact players. Round of applause.
Oh, is this too high? Hello, everyone. Today I introduce about the fandom activism in Korea, and the title is From Hashtag to Airship. Let me start with a short introduction. My name is Yeonwoo, and I studied media culture studies for my master's, and before that I also studied about philosophy. My main research interest is in the fandom activism, but I recently gained more interest in more like social culture aspect of gamer and games. And currently I'm affiliated with University of Jyväskylä in Finland, but honestly I've never been to Finland before. So today is my presentation based on Korea too. So I hope this case will be interesting for you. Here is the roadmap for today. First, I want to explain the background of why gamer consumer activism became common in Korea. And then I show a short history of it. And third, I focus on the Genshin Impact airship protest, which is related to the conference topic. And finally, I discuss the outcome and the meaning and end with the conclusion. This talk is started from my master's thesis on gamer consumer activism. And for this presentation, I also collected more recent data and more concrete material, especially regarding the Genshin case. My main goal is to give an overview of the gamer consumer activism and then to look closely at the Genshin case. To understand the gamer consumer activism, we first need to look at the structure of the Korean industry. Korea's gaming industry is grew from PC and internet culture, not from console and packaged game. So online game become dominant and long running titles like Dungeon & Fighter, Lineage, Maple Stories became like shape the scenes. Many of these games have been live for over 20 years and they have remained at the core of our culture. However, long-term service does not always go smoothly. The game is sometimes like left without update for a long time, like 10 or 20 years. And in those periods, the game can stay almost the same with no meaningful changes, or it can be left without like broken state, like there are full of bugs and errors. And communication was also weak. Of course, there are official channels like customer support or forums, but players often receive only template replies, or there was no answer at all. On the top of that, there have been major issues about loot box probability manipulation, and there were a deeper monetization too, which means that players are pushed to pay more and more. These problems make players feel that the service is unfair and disrespectful, and as this issue continued, players' angers have been growing out. With this anger, many players began to think like this way. This is a service and we are the paying customers, so we have the right to demand proper maintenance, fair system, and real communication. This way of thinking became a key driver of gamer consumer activism in Korea. This activism has a quite long history. For around the 2010s, many actions happened, but in online. Players use offline official game forums, websites, and even the social media like Twitter. The most well-known were hashtag campaign and review bombing. In hashtag campaign, players spread the short and clear messages with the same hashtag, so the issue became visible. And in review bombing, players leave a large number of negative reviews on app stores or game platform in a short time. And players also use official forums in more direct way. One famous forum is called 드러눕기, which means lying down. It means that players pen the forum with on emoticon look like a person lying down. You can see the emoticon here. But this kind of protest has a clear limitation because the company simply ignore the players' demand. Here, you might wonder why players do not simply quit the game. But since the game lasts for over 10, 20 years, players invest a huge amount of time and money into our game. They also build emotional attachment and social relationship there too. So instead of just leaving, players want to stay at the game, so they search for the ways to the company could not ignore them. And the solution they found was offline protest. The most representative form of offline protest is the truck. Players collect a large amount of money online and rent a truck with a big LED screen. And on the screen, they usually put messages about unfair business model, loot box regulation, and bad communication. Like it's to urge that gamers are not being protected as a legitimate consumers. Since they want to public to see their message, so they send truck not only to the game company, but also to the government building like National Assembly, and also the crowded places like Gangnam Station. And by doing this, they try to convince public and pressure them to and use their pressure to push the company make changes. However, as the protests were repetitive for a year, some changes started to appear. I want to call this the third stage of gamer consumer activism. The biggest change is in the format. As you can see on the slide, players began to move beyond truck and use more unusual formats such as like carriage and airships. And here the message also began to change. Like for example, in the Genshin case, the main topic was anti-feminism, which is not related to the company's malpractices. I will discuss this in more detail later. So to summarize the overall flow of gamer consumer activism so far, it looks like this way. Now we will focus on the main case, which is related to Genshin case. This protest started when players raised a suspicion. They noticed something in a video posted on Genshin channel, and they focused on an illustrator who had participated in Furina making. They claimed that the illustrator posted anti-male, so-called feminist content on the social media. And based on this suspicion, some users demanded that whoever take on action against that illustrator. Like they claimed that the company should fire her or get rid of her artwork in the game. However, the company did not give a clear official response, so the user decided to organize a protest. It is also necessary to look at the process of organizing. Given that the protest adopted the unusual format, it required a substantial amount of funding. However, the funds were raised in just 20 minutes, and this shows a strong motivation and skilled mobilization among the participants. Now I will show you what the airship protest looks like. As the name suggests, the gamer used an airship, and they flew it in the sky with large banner, which said, "Do not ignore hate speech, show you will to improve. Repent Hoyobus," a company that does not communicate with customers. They flew in near places connected to Genshin in Korea, such as around the Korean branch, and near Hongdae, where Genshin Team Cafe located. The protest ran for 4 days, and it became a hot topic in online. However, despite its visibility, this protest is described as not successful because it did not lead to clear changes, like there were no police changes, no official apologies, or no in-game changes too. So it is an important case that shows some limitation of gamer consumer activism. To understand this failure, we should go dive deep into the protest. This case has two very clear features. First, it used an airship, which is rare and dramatic. And second, unlike the before protest, which focused on business model, This one focused on ideological related issue. So we need to ask, why did the form and the topic change? The interview participants on my study explained it very clearly. They said that the first goal of the gamer activism is to gain public attention. It means that before changing the company, gamers first need to make people look and care about their issue. And in this context, they said that Truck had reached its limitation, since it became so frequent that people were no longer surprised and media attention became harder to get as well. This is what I want to call Truck fatigue. So to overcome this limitation, organizers searched for something fresh. They looked for a form that could feel new again and attract attention. And in that search, the airship became practical alternative because it was unusual and visible. Now I move to the second ship, the topic. The reason why the topic changed can be traced back from the wider context of Korean game culture. It has often been male-dominated, and that is many players believe that because male are the main paying customer of the game industry, the company should follow the main male gamers' request too. However, this argument faced some contradiction in the Genshin case. First, since Genshin is a global game made in China, the main customer are not the people from the Korea too. And the players are not only male-dominated as well. According to the many official and even unofficial sources suggest that the gender ratio of Genshin player is balanced. And the protesters also seem to understand this reality. They knew that they were not the only or the clearly leading paying customer who decide how the game should be run. But instead of stepping back, they intentionally spent a large amount of money on the protest. And by doing so, they want to demonstrate one point. We are also consumer who generate significant revenue. So to summarize, it works like this way. In my view, the protest suggests that Korean gamer consumer activism enter a transitional point. On the one hand, it shows some high capacity for fast mobilization, but on the other hand, it shows a clear limitation of existing strategy. And after these cases, there were not many large, widely impactful protests of the same level. However, it is more important to understand this not as a decline in gamer rights, but as a shift in direction. After several years of protest, many changes have taken place. Since the more people understand to care about the gamers' right, and because of that, gamer consumer association emerged, and more decisively, the gamer protection laws such as mandatory loot box probability disclosure enacted too. So the activism may be shifting from spectacle to other formats, more institutional, legal, and policy focused. Since we are running out of time, I will skip the conclusion. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Do we have a question?
Hi. I'm really interested in a lot of this stuff regarding the sort of player rights and consumer rights that you're talking about. I come from a little bit more of a sort of cultural studies background in certain respects, looking at games and art and stuff. And it seemed to me that this sort of, the demands that players make and expect for these sorts of things are not really present as much when you're looking at sort of film or books or sort of other sort of forms of art. And I think that's a really interesting thing. So I was just curious if you could expand a little bit more about sort of where and why you think this sort of sentiment that they have and they feel so strongly about comes from and how if at all it's justified.
Thank you for your question. I believe that is really crucial point. like the why consumer activism like occurred severely. And in fact, like the question you gave to me was the beginning part of my research too. Like why this like kind of big like severe consumerism like is dominant in Korea. And I'm not sure about this clearly about like this phenomena because it's fairly complex, and in this current like society, like the way of thinking that since I'm the paying customer, you should follow us. Like this way of thinking is really like generalized in this day, I think so. But it is really like important to understand that Korean gaming industry is how can I say that, consists of the game as a service product. And because the game is adopted, pay, what's the English term would be? Pay, there's I forgot the word in pay to play. Yeah, pay to play. Pay to play? Pay to play and even pay to win is really common in Korea. So that many people think that if you pay more, then you have more rights in the game because you have more power in the game when you pay more in the game. And how can I say that? This parity between the players, the amount of the whole amount of spent money is different from the players by player, so that they think naturally that they have the different level of right in the game too. And I describe it more detail in my paper, so you can read my paper in Google Scholar too. Thank you.
Nice. Do you have other questions on site? Oh, here.
Really cool talk. One question I sort of have in this move to associated social movement protests, I guess, is how much do you think external groups use these protests to AstroTurf movements? So in the specific case, I guess an example would be, are non-Genshin players who are also anti-feminists in Korea funding this protest because it aligns with their anti-feminist goals? Is that something you think there's evidence of or are concerned about?
It is really important thing. To understand this phenomena clearly, we should know the other cases too. But I omitted because of the time limitation. There was another anti-feminist protest in Korea when the Genshin cases appear. There were really same cases. The illustrator appeared to be feminist, so the company actually get rid of her work in the artwork totally, and the game was the Maple Story, and because the company thinks that the customers are the how can I say that, the anti-feminist people are the main paying customer, so that company decide to get rid of the artwork at all. But on the other hand, Genshin Impact did not do that. So the people who are belonging in the game industry, and as well as not only Genshin player but also other game player think that we should protect the game industry for us. So they volunteer and they funding a lot in the game too. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Other questions? Oh, we have one here.
One of the famous argument about the gender issue is the cause of Yeonwoo. It's in around 3 years ago. Some people are arguing how about the cause of character of Yeonwoo is useful, and some male player will say, I don't like this cause, but I will fighting for some male player will say, I don't like the Shenhe's clothes, but I will fighting for against the female players. So maybe it's happened on the South Korea. It's a similar situation will happen on South Korea about some kind of player will say, I don't like it, but I will fighting for my gender. I will fighting for my right of gender to keep the clothes of female characters, like something like is favors them have a breast or some. I don't know how to describe it. But I don't think I person know how does the clothes like that. And the second part is about in the some players will report to the government when they have argument with other players, especially in how about the clothes of female characters. They will send a letter to the government website and to talking about how does the game company against the police. That's the reason is that they do not feel happy on the clothes, just on the clothes of female characters. So how about thinking about those two questions?
Two discrepancies. Could you make the question simple? Sorry.
I'm sorry for that. And the first one is that maybe some male player will against the female players just for even they do not really like the characters, but they just want to against the other gender. And the second is that some players will send the post to the government instead of the game company to complain about to make some complaints about how does the game company should do. And so how about thinking about that?
First of all, the protests were not against the character, but against the company's policies. That seems to be acceptable for the female and the female player and woman player and the illustrator too. So it's not that on the character design or the clothes design like that, but I believe that is since the game industry became more inclusive, the how can I say that the male player who seemed to be dominant in the last decade want to protect their culture paying more than other groups, and this was the outcome of the purpose. Is that enough?
It's a kind of related to the power instead of clothes. Everything is related to power instead of how about the clothes. It's just the structure of power.
I personally was not focused on the clothes design and their power dynamics, so I cannot explain the answer properly. But personally, I think that in Korea, Genshin seems to be very clean game for the female player because it's not that revealing compared to other kind of game like the Victory Nikkei, is that right? Or the Blue Archive is that much revealing. So Genshin seems to be really friendly to the woman player. So yeah, I know that there's some differences between other countries, but in our case, it goes this way.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is definitely something you can discuss after the session because given the time limit, we can move on to the next speaker.